Up to the 30, the 20, 10, 5. Torrey Horton back to the end zone.
28-yard play. Guess who? Body up the middle, making another move to the outside. 15, 10, end zone again.
Keeps it. Nice move by Brown. He's got space. He's got 6. 35-yard touchdown for Byron Brown. A record-setting night for the South Florida quarterback.
Down so far, a little bit of a high snap. Genty right up the middle. Genty has room. Ashton Genty, give him 6.
Second and low. Lagar tries to pin it in. Runnels, it does. Runnels stays up. The Showtime is 4-3 wheels. Incredible effort for Runnels.
The G5 Hive. All G5, all the time.
Welcome to the G5 Hive Live, and we are excited to bring you the G5 college football coverage you love each and every week. I am Luke, and I am proudly joined by my co-host, Justice. If you're watching us on YouTube, please hit that like and subscribe button. If you're watching us on X, please give us a follow, a like, and a retweet. And if you're listening to us in podcast form, please leave a rate and review. And don't forget, the G5 Hive merchandise stores is now live. You can get that down here at the link below if you're watching us on YouTube or X. That'll also be in our YouTube video comments as well as pinned on our X page at the bottom of the screen here. All right. Well, let's get into the nectar of the good stuff. This week's topics. Week 11, week in review. Let's see here. My screen is frozen. Give me 1 second. All right. Midweek games, G5 matchups, Bowling Green at Central Michigan. We had Bowling Green on top, 23-13. Connor Bazelak, 207 yards passing, 1 touchdown. And then we had Harold Fannin was not able to get the 100 yards receiving, unfortunately. So kind of a bummer there. But
Central Michigan
this was
on
our
third string QB.
Yep. This was our Tuesday. What did you deem it? Tight end Tuesday.
Tight end Tuesday, because you got Harold Fannin Jr. and Tanner Koziel, 2 of the best tight ends in the G5. They played okay, but they didn't play up to their quote standards.
Yeah, we were talking about. I think my question was, hey, does Harold Fannin score over 100 yards or get over 100 yards this week? You're like, most definitely. I mean, the weather was kind of crappy. If I'm remembering,
It was raining. Yeah, it was pretty rainy.
Then Miami of Ohio at Ball State. Miami of Ohio pulls out the 27-21 win. Samoza 280 yards passing, 1 touchdown. Bowick had 8 receptions for 171 yards and 1 touchdown. Justice, did you get to watch?
I did. That was the better game. And I think we mentioned it last week that I think the spread was over 7.5. I think we both felt that Ball State could keep that game close, and they did. They had a chance to win the game. That was definitely the better game. They had a couple mistakes that kind of cost them, but Miami really kind of kept Braden Sloan, the all-purpose running back there for Ball State, in check. He didn't do hardly anything on the ground. 16 yards on the ground, and only had 1 catch. So it definitely seemed like he was a focal point of the Red Hawks defense. But really, the story of the game, I guess, was the turnovers. Caden Samoza with 2 interceptions, and that's kind of the difference in the game. But yeah, it was a good game. Definitely the better of the two. And like you said, the weather in both those games, it was raining pretty hard. And I'm surprised there weren't more fumbles, and there was no fumbles in the Miami game. And then in the Bowling Green Central Michigan game, there were a few, but I'm surprised there there weren't more. There was 3 fumbles by Central Michigan. Tyler Jefferson fumbled twice. Marion Luke's fumbled once. And the Luke's one's kind of funny because the announcers just made a comment about, hey, we haven't had any fumbles yet in this game, which is a shocker given the conditions. And then Marion Luke's proceeded to fumble the ball. So
I believe in jinx. I'm a baseball player, played college baseball. I believe in jinx. I believe in superstitions. So that one's on the announcers. Let's see here. That was Tuesday. Let's go over to Wednesday. We had Ohio at Kent State. Ohio wins 41-0. Parker Navarro, we didn't know if he was going to play coming into the game. He ends up going only 142 yards. Tyus comes back, has 84 carries and a touchdown. Owen had 4 receptions, 61 yards. There was a 96-yard kickoff return for a touchdown in this one. It was all Ohio from the beginning. Honestly, I guess for the score, they could have just stopped after the first quarter. They win 10-0 instead of 41-0.
yeah, I mean, Kent
I
State's
don't know if
on
there's
their
much to really tackle here.
on their 4th string quarterback, and so unless they can get some people back and healthy, it doesn't look good for them to actually get a win this year. Like you mentioned, they play Miami, Ohio, and they play Akron and Buffalo. Maybe the Akron game, maybe is their best shot. But I mean, if they're on their 4th string quarterback, I don't know that they really have a shot to win a game this year.
Going to be tough. And then a game that we were kind of talking about last week that caps off our Wednesday night is Northern Illinois at Western Michigan. I think I picked Western Michigan to pull it out, but Northern Illinois, pretty good team. They end up winning this game 42-28. Don't score anything in the first quarter and then proceed to put up 21 points in both the second and third quarter. We got Telly Johnson breakout, 23 carries, 141 yards, 2 touchdowns. The rookie of the, or not the rookie, but the freshman of the week. Rudolph shows up big in this one. 6 receptions for 74 yards. Again, we just talked about the MAC a little bit ago. This drops Western Michigan to 4-1 in the MAC. Northern Illinois a surprise 2-3 with a couple games to go.
Yeah, Hayden Wolf had 2 interceptions in the game. That certainly didn't help the cause. The Western Michigan defense didn't play very well at all, especially in the second and the third quarter. Obviously, the first quarter, they shut them out. The fourth quarter, I don't really count that because the game's already over at that point. But yeah, that Western Michigan defense was definitely a little bit disappointing this past week.
Right, and then Thursday we had 2 games here to highlight. App State at Coastal. Coastal's able to pull this one out 38-24. Honestly, kind of looked like Coastal was going to run away with it. There was a red zone interception by Aguilar there at the beginning, or no, maybe it was a fumble. I'm trying to remember. There was a lot of turnovers in this game. I think it was an
Yeah, Joey had 2 interceptions and he lost a fumble too.
So I think he might have lost the fumble first, and then he had 1 interception that, it was behind the wide receiver, but the wide receiver touched it, which then went to the defender. But Joey could actually run the ball quite a bit. He opened the game with a big run, but they had no answer for Coastal Carolina on the ground. Bennett did really well. He had 3 touchdowns, or I think he had 3 touchdowns.
Yeah, he had 3 touchdowns.
But Joey Aguilar, 226 yards passing, 1 touchdown. Marshall with 28 carries for 124 yards and 2 touchdowns. He's been getting a lot of run here the last 3. I think this is the 3rd straight week where he's had quite a bit of rushes, and then like we talked about, Caden Robinson goes out, I assume, with torn ACL, but he had 5 receptions for 76 yard and got his second touchdown of the year.
Yeah, and
Been really consistent.
that's when he injured it. So I caught the very end of this game that night, but he got the ball like on the 1 or 2 yard line, and then you could tell he picked that leg up and kind of hopped into the end zone, fell down the end zone, and then he immediately was grabbing that knee. Yeah, and then they had to limp him off the field, or he had to give him help off the field, and he kind of limped off. I didn't at that point. I didn't think it was going to be that serious because like he was able to limp off, but yeah, I definitely would appear to be some type of knee injury for him.
And then the nightcap for this one, Florida Atlantic at East Carolina. East Carolina dominates this one 49-14. Caden Hauser has 6 touchdowns on the day. He had 5 passing, 343 yards through the air. I don't know if you caught this one, but I'm trying to remember his first name. He was wearing a black hoodie under his pads. Smith, first name for ECU, or Smith was his last name for ECU, but like he had one of those
Anthony
bonehead,
Smith, wide
Anthony
receiver.
Smith. He had one of those bonehead, like Hauser could have had 7 total touchdowns on the day. He had a long play. I can't remember if it was the third quarter or the second quarter, and he goes to dive for the end zone. Didn't need to. I don't know if he's looking at the scoreboard and looks like somebody's there or whatnot, but he like dives for the end zone. I mean, it was kind of rainy and whatnot in the game, but like he could have just ran normal and got into the end zone, but he dove and he came up they called it a touchdown. Reviewed it. He was short. So it was, yeah, that ended up being a Rajay Harris touchdown. But yeah, that could have been a bigger day. And East Carolina, since making the switch there to Hauser, has been
and the new head coach.
Yep, has been cruising. They've been putting up points. I don't know if they're just free and easy or what it is, but they're launching it. And Justice, I believe you're probably pretty happy since this is like your closet team that you're a big fan of. That like they're fun. I like it.
Yeah, I mean, I don't mind ECU. They're the next closest team to me other than Old Dominion. So they're about 2 hours away. Yeah, and ODU plays them frequently, so it's always good when both teams are good and they play each other. A little bit of a rivalry.
All right, and then to wrap up our midweek games, Friday night we had 2 games. Let's first start with Rice and Memphis. Memphis pulls this one out 27-20. EJ Warner, we'll get to him a little bit later in our 2020 guys, but he has a pretty good game, 246 yards passing, 2 touchdowns. Mario Anderson continues his trek through the G5 as being one of the top running backs in the G5, 25 carries, 144 yards and touchdown. And then Sykes, the wide receiver there for Rice, has been quietly having a really good year. He has 6 receptions for 76 yards and a touchdown in this one. Quiet at the beginning, and then kind of put it on more than that second half there for Rice. I did not get to watch much of this game. I didn't know if you got to watch a lot of it.
I caught the very end.
Okay.
And Rice had a chance to win. They just couldn't. They couldn't get it done. Couldn't get a stop there at the end. Memphis got a first down to kind of salt it away, if you will. But yeah, I mean, I'm surprised that Rice kept it as close as they did. Memphis has kind of been a bit of a disappointment this year. We had high hopes for them and App State both. Those are probably the 2 biggest for me disappointments on the season so far.
And then the last game, I got to watch a good part of this. I think I missed like the first 4 drives total, but New Mexico at San Diego State. New Mexico pulls out the 21-16 win. Danny O'Neill for SDSU has 195 yards passing, 1 touchdown. Eli Sanders, 16 carries, 173 yards, and 2 touchdowns. Great back-to-back weeks there for Sanders. And then Napier, 9 receptions, 63 yards for San Diego State. Honestly, like I said at the beginning, we were talking about defensive player of the week. Marquez Cooper, you knew he was going to get the ball a lot. He got the ball a lot. He just didn't have these big runs. And I think they kept him under like 7-8 yards for most of the game. He might have had one run there in like towards the beginning of the fourth quarter that he was able to pop for close to 10. But they were able to hold him, which was good. Honestly, this New Mexico defensive line has been kind of getting manhandled lately, and it was nice to see them step up this week. I just want to know what's going on with San Diego State's field. The last 2 weeks, I've been able to watch their games, and it looks like they're playing in like almost like kitty litter. It's just like dirt. Like most of the time, it's like dirt with sprinkle of grass. It's like playing between first and second base on a baseball field. It just almost seems like the old Raiders stadium. I mean, not like actual sand like that, but it's just so sandy. And then there's like pockets of grass. We're like, oh, there's grass there. It just doesn't seem like it'd be something super fun to play in, run in. I didn't play football, so I don't know if you need the long spikes or the short spikes, whatever works best. But I can't imagine just running in sand. So
the one thing that, I mean, to me, for New Mexico, that they still have a chance to become bowl eligible, which I think is like amazing. I think folks' expectations for New Mexico weren't very high this year. In my opinion, they far exceeded what the expectations or what my expectations were. And the fact that, with 2 games to go, they still have an opportunity to be bowl eligible is pretty amazing. Chances of them becoming bowl eligible aren't great. They got to beat Washington State this week, which is a pretty tall order, I think. But if they do it, then they got Hawaii in the last week to become bowl eligible. That'd be a pretty remarkable season in Bronco Mendenhall's first year if they're able to do that.
all right, now let's get into our Saturday featured G5 versus G5 matchups. First, we've got Texas State at Louisiana Monroe. Texas State pulls this one out 38-17. I mean, let's just talk about this one. Brad Jackson, true freshman.
McLeod comes out. I guess he wasn't healthy, and they put Brad Jackson. Is that kind of what happened? And then he just ran the ball.
I mean, I did not get to watch. Pretty much, I didn't get to watch anything before like 5 p.m. So I didn't get to see this one. But yeah, Jackson, 17 carries, 126 yards, 2 touchdowns on the ground. It looked like, just looking at the play-by-play, like McLeod was in there, and then Jackson came in, and then McLeod. It was kind of like this hodgepodge of utilization. So that'll be interesting to see how that goes for the rest of the year. Or does Texas State just say, "Hey, we're 3-2, we're not going to win the Sun Belt"? I don't know. I find it hard to believe that they would do that. But I think the more stunning thing here is just that Brad Jackson was the next guy up. In that rotation.
It wasn't RJ Martinez, or it wasn't PJ Hatter. It was Brad Jackson, true freshman Brad Jackson.
And it sounds like shocking. Jackson. Yeah, it sounds like Martinez and Jackson were splitting reps during the week. So I mean, that was interesting.
It makes me wonder what happened to PJ Hatter. Like, he's already told the coaches he wants to enter the portal, or I don't know. Like, just a weird situation, because he was a pretty pretty highly rated recruit for Texas State, and it looks like he's now not only was he passed by Martinez, who came in fall camp. Now he's also being passed by a true freshman. So, yeah, interesting development there for Texas State. And if they go with Jackson the rest of the way, looks like it'd be kind of run heavy. They ran the ball with him, and then Deion Hankins ran the ball a lot too, which surprises me because ULM's defense had been pretty good up until these last few weeks. But we saw them get torched. Was it last week? I think as well. So UNLV after that, I think the hot start, they were 5-0. Now that they've lost 3 in a row. So they'll need to do some regrouping here in the last few weeks for UL Monroe, and that you have to get another win to get to bowl eligibility.
And then we have Liberty at Middle Tennessee. Liberty wins 37-17. Nick Vadiato looked pretty good in this one. 22 of 33 for 263 yards, 2 touchdowns. Quentin Cooley, 24 carries, 136 yards on the ground. Like we mentioned earlier, Holden Willis comes back. And this one has 5 receptions for 81 yards. The story in this one was Liberty scores 20 in the second quarter. They win by 20. And Middle Tennessee just so many penalties in this game. And there was some calls about some fans curious about some play calling, this and that, but it's just been a whole bunch of penalties. And it just sounds like Middle Tennessee just needs to get more reps here. Obviously, hasn't been the season that they wanted. 3-7 overall, 2-4 in CUSA. But I do believe, with a new coaching staff, just need one more win to exceed how many wins they had last year. Is that correct, Justice, or sound about right? So Middle Tennessee, they've got a very, very winnable game this week. I'm trying to remember who it is, followed by FIU their last week.
Yeah, they had Middle Tennessee had 4 wins a year ago.
Okay, so they need to get to one more to be there, but they've got FAU's their last game. I cannot remember who they have this week.
They're on a bye this week, and then they have New Mexico State and Florida International is their last 2.
So depending on what FIU team they get, they could win both games. I think it helps having New Mexico State at home. I expect New Mexico State to run the ball quite a bit. But, yeah. Let's see here. Army, North Texas. This one I was very excited to watch. I thought that it was going to be a little bit more points than we had. I also wasn't sure who was going to be at quarterback. There's a lot of questions here, and then when you hear Bryson Daly's going to play, I'm like, okay, here come the fireworks. It's just what we thought. 14-3 was the score of this game. Daly had 36 carries for 153 yards and 2 touchdowns. Chandler Morris had 2 interceptions. I believe both of them were in the red zone, if I'm remembering correctly. So that Army defense played big in this one. I don't even think that they attempted a pass in this game. So this was all running the ball with the Daly. Again, coming back from that surgery, thought he would maybe be run the ball, maybe not that effective, but hey, he carried the ball a lot, and he single-handedly helped this Army team move that ball down the field. I believe I saw one stat in the game that they had the ball for I'm trying to remember. It was 19 or 17 plays for 90 some yards and ate up 13 minutes. Something dumb, and they're kicking a field goal. Or they were kicking their extra point. It was just something crazy. That's okay, yeah, that makes sense. That's totally Army. Anyways, getting on to our next game, we had San Jose State at Oregon State. San Jose State wins 24-13. You get 395 yards passing, 1 touchdown. Anthony Hagerson for Oregon State has 30 carries for 121 yards and a touchdown. And then our boy Nick Nash, 6 receptions, 161 yards and a touchdown. Dude is on fire. He's pretty much the Ashton Genty of the receiving world. We will talk about him in our 2020 lineup, but this this passing attack keeps launching the ball down the field, keep having success. San Jose's 6-3 on the year, 2-3 in MAC play. I don't.
It
Anything that you
surprised
want
me.
to talk about here?
I didn't think. I expected it to be a better game, and I didn't expect San Jose State to beat Oregon State. To be honest with you,
I did not either. And you'd think that to beat Oregon State, you'd probably do better on the ground than you would passing the ball. But obviously, San Jose State, they're pretty good at throwing the ball. And honestly, Eagles' game is kind of surprising based off of some of the other games this season. Other games: Arkansas State at Louisiana. Louisiana wins this one big time, 55-19. Moved to 5-0 in the Sun Belt, 8-1 overall. Wooldridge has 264 yards passing, 1 touchdown. Washington 123 yards, 2 touchdowns, and Corey Rucker for Arkansas State leads the way with 6 receptions for 73 yards. Anything you want to talk about in this one in particular?
one thing real quick, a technical issue. I just got a message from StreamYard. Looks like something's going on with the YouTube feed. And it's not streaming right now for some reason. And so if you're watching on YouTube and you can hear me, go to Twitter if you want to continue to watch the live feed. It looks like there's some kind of issue with StreamYard and YouTube. And then we'll get the full video posted later. But it looks like they're having issues right now. Something going on with YouTube. Again, shocked by the score. Louisiana just continues to go out and win, and they do it in dominant fashion. That defense is playing lights out. They look like clearly the best team in the Sun Belt right now.
I think in this one, I'm trying to remember, but I think backup quarterback. Am I blanking on his name? Transfer quarterback who went in there. Help me
To
out.
Arkansas State,
Arkansas State. Yeah.
Tim
I
McLean.
think he got in there. Timmy McLean. I think he got in there as well in this game, if I am not mistaken. Only a couple passes.
Yeah, he did. He was
but-
2 for 2 for 25 yards.
So Arkansas State. I mean, it kind of seems like, okay, maybe Timmy comes in there at some point. When does he come in there? But Arkansas State seems to be holding steady with, hey, it's Rayner's job here. Another game, Nevada at Boise State. This one was a lot, like you said, a lot closer than we kind of anticipated. This one is Boise State 28, Nevada 21. It's on the blue turf. And I think they would, I don't know, blow them out, I guess. But Nevada's been playing pretty well. Their record doesn't show it, 3-8, 0-5 in the Mountain West, but they've been playing pretty good football and better than I thought they would. Boise State moves
Offensively,
to 8-1, 5-0.
defensively, I'm surprised that Boise State didn't score more. But Maddox Madsen did not have a very good game after having a lights out game the week before.
Yeah, and my computer froze up here. Brendan Lewis, 188 yards passing, 1 touchdown. He also had a touchdown on the ground for 32 yards. Ashton Genty, 34 carries, 209 yards rushing, 3 touchdowns. Jaden Smith adds a touchdown, leads the way again, 4 receptions for 57 yards for Nevada. And then Boise State tight end, Matt Lauder, 5 receptions, 61 yards, and a touchdown, leading the way there for Boise State. Man, I hope Boise just doesn't trip up here in the next couple weeks. It just seems like they've had the last 2-3 weeks some close games that just closer than comfort, I guess, for me. I'm like, I hope nothing gets ruined. I want to see them in the playoffs and whatnot. But anyways, anything you want to add there?
No, yeah, hopefully, they got Ashton Genty back on track. But it almost feels like, the last couple weeks, the 2 weeks previous, he kind of lost a lot of momentum in the Heisman race.
You talk about close. UNLV goes to Hawaii, wins 29-27. Bryn Shager, 282 yards passing, 3 touchdowns. He's been doing a lot of damage on the ground this year, more than previous years. Haj Malik Williams, talk about quarterbacks doing damage on the ground. He had 19 carries, 122 yards, and a touchdown. And then Ricky White had a quiet first half, turns it on there towards in the second half. 7 receptions, 128 yards, and a touchdown. UNLV stays in that Mountain West race at 3-1, waiting for a Colorado State loss is what they kind of need to jump in there. And so Utah State at Washington. This one, I did not watch much of. I just watched, I don't know, maybe a couple minutes just to kind of see how it was going in the second half. At that point, it was 21-7, I think it was. But yeah, Utah State loses this one, 49-28. They are 2-7 on the season. Spencer Petras has been throwing the ball a lot. He had 45 pass attempts in this one, but only 208 yards and 2 touchdowns. And then we talked about Faison getting hurt early on. Turner, the true freshman, I believe, or is it a redshirt freshman?
Turner. I don't know off the top of my head.
He's been getting, like, when he gets his opportunities, he's been doing well. So I'm excited to see him in the coming years. But Faison goes out, should be back this next week. But yeah, that is our week 11. It's now in a rearview mirrors. We're done.
The one thing I want to say in the Mountain West, Colorado State doesn't play Boise, doesn't play UNLV in the regular season, and so I mean, I just kind of they avoid probably the 2 best teams, and as a result, they might find themselves in the championship. They don't have a
one reason why I picked them to be in the Mountain West championship game against Boise State.
They have Wyoming, Fresno State, and Utah State left. So it's just interesting that whole invite the Pac-12 and let them, or the Pac-2, and let them be a quasi part of our conference, but not really. Is what did this, right? Because you get rid of those 2 teams, and they probably play Boise State and UNLV, or at least one of them for sure. So yeah, very, very interesting turn of events, I guess, for the Mountain West.
That's going to do it for us. Come back and join us next week as we discuss what happened in Week 12, as well as look forward to Week 13. We give you our waiver wire guys to look for to help you out in Week 13 of the 2024 season. As always, we bring you the up-to-date on the latest news and happenings in the world of G5 college football. Again, if you're watching us on YouTube, please hit that like and subscribe button. If you're watching us on X, please give us a retweet, a like, and a follow. And if you're listening to us on Apple Podcasts or Spotify, please subscribe and leave those 5-star ratings and reviews. Thank you all for your support. And until the next time, we are the G5 Hive.